My name is John Forrest.
And you used to work on these beasts?
I
Yeah?
was in charge of the refurbishment program
Wow.
at Doncaster.
You worked in Doncaster Works?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I was responsible for when they were train heated and all that.
Wow.
And I came from Derby and worked at Doncaster for 2 years.
I bet you've got a few tales to tell.
Well, read the book.
I will. I'm looking forward to reading your book. It's lovely seeing you here today.
Finest works in the book.
Hey?
Doncaster with the finest works.
How long have you worked at the DPS? And I notice on your sweatshirt it says Coily Support Crew. So
yes.
You've had quite an involvement with the Celtics.
I think it's always been all my life in different aspects, really. Because when I was growing up, my dad was project manager of 55002 Coily.
Right.
So on weekends I go down with them to the NRM, and there's photos of me working, just like cleaning stuff like the fuel tanks, for instance, quite a young age. So quite a while.
Tell me about what your days look like when you come and work now in this wonderful organisation. You start at what time, for instance, and then what does your day shape up to be?
Usually get any time between around 8:30, 9:30ish.
And is that at weekends or is that sometimes in the week?
Weekends and in the week, yeah.
Right. Okay. What do you do in the day then? If are you a student still or something?
Yeah, I mean, studying engineering in college at the minute.
Well, that's going to be handy
So,
for these guys
yeah.
then, isn't it? Are you learning things at college that you think can help the DPS in the future?
Yeah, I think I've also learned quite a lot. Also doing the maintenance on the locos as well. It will help me in the future.
And what do you like about a Deltic?
I think for me, it's the look of the locos, and also the noise, and also having the fact that so I've like been working on them. It's sort of like growing the interest more and more.
Do you get satisfaction having worked on these?
Oh, certainly, yeah.
Seeing them out and about on the main line.
Oh, certainly,
How
yeah.
does that make you feel?
Quite proud. Quite proud.
The DPS is a long-established group of very hard-working people, as I see it. And yet, these very hard-working people, I hope they don't mind me saying this, are getting older.
Oh, yeah.
So how does this keep going in the future over the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years? Have you got any ideas on how we can keep this Deltic movement and legacy moving forward?
I think what we need is quite a lot of the youth of today. You see, like, such as open days, galas or anything, coming in, helping out, even if it's just as a member of the group. Really, having the youth today would help in the future.
And what would they get out of it? I know they'd be volunteering. What would they get out of that?
I think they'd probably get out a lot of satisfaction.
Right.
Say, any job you do, you can be like, yeah, I've worked on that loco.
Do you have to learn all these skills to be able to do what you do? Does somebody show you here?
Yeah.
So when all these older gentlemen retire, the younger people need to have the knowledge, don't they?
Oh, certainly, yeah.
And are you going to be one of their main men in the future with all that knowledge to carry this forward?
Hopefully. Because I'm doing my travelling fitter training as well.
Yeah.
So that means being on the loco when they're out, and anything that could crop up, going to fix it or anything, then...
Yeah. Is this a route to being able to drive one of these wonderful machines one day as a volunteer?
Oh, certainly, yeah. Yeah.
On the preserve railways?
Certainly. Even maybe, never know, in the future on the main line too.
Oh, wow. That would be quite something, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Do you have a favourite of the Deltics?
The one we're in right now, number 9.
Why?
I think it's because it's always been one, because I've done several rail tours all over the country with it.
Yeah.
It's always sort of been the loco which has always been there for me.
Yeah.
And also, because I've done most of my work has either been on 9 or 15.
Yeah.
So...
Does one of them sound better to you?
I'd say all of them sound different.
Do they?
Not a single one sound the same.
That's interesting.
So, for example, I'll say 19 sounds proper.
Yeah. Well, I was lucky enough to be there when they started that up for the first time just a couple of weeks ago at the Great Central. And I couldn't believe that it had been sort of dormant, if you like, for 3 or 4 months during the winter months. And literally, first attempt, started up, no problem. Second engine, first attempt, started up, no problem. There's some real knowledge that goes into maintaining these engines.
Because even like when you're starting up the locos or the engines, every single one I've noticed, each power unit I've started up, each one is different. The time it takes to start up and the way it starts up.
Now, whilst you're working on this one, and I see that you've been painting this one, we'll perhaps have a look at that in a little while. When that runs around, you've painted this engine.
Yeah.
That's quite something.
Quite, yeah. I'll say so, yeah.
I see. If I can be cheeky, I can see some bits that you've missed so far. You haven't quite finished.
Yeah.
You've got the cant rails to do, haven't you? In orange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still got the cant rails and cab sides at the time of videoing. Yeah.
How many of you young ones are there that are dedicated to keeping this going in this group at the moment? Are there others?
I'll say there's about 5 or 6 of us, because I'm certainly the youngest.
Are you? How old are you anyway?
17.
And how long have you been here?
Since 2018, so that's about 7 years or so.
So you're actually here helping, following in Father's footsteps from the age of 10?
Yeah.
Right, so, and before that, did you like trains?
Oh, certainly, yeah.
Did you always know that Deltics were your thing?
Yeah.
Now, sneaky little question, because I'm interested in you now, Alex. Do you like other diesel heritage engines other than Deltics as well? Or is it just Deltics?
Class 37s I'm well into.
Are you?
Yeah.
We must bump into each other sometimes when I'm out doing my filming of these 37s with my Hellfire TV channel. Do you watch those?
Yeah, certainly, yeah.
Do you like them?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Get the volume up. Well, I want to make more films with the Deltics as we go through time. And I'm hoping that over the next 18 months we can create some fantastic marketing for the group itself. I think one of the main messages we want to get out is it needs its volunteers. And it needs younger volunteers, doesn't it, to keep it all going. And obviously it needs to raise money. One of the things that shocked me, and I don't know whether you're party to this as being such a young man, everything seems to cost so much money.
Oh, certainly, yeah.
Everything that you look at, it's £5,000, £6,000, £10,000. How much were those batteries? The GCR
around £8,000
just for the batteries for one locomotive. And we've got how many here? We've got 3.
Yeah.
It costs a fortune. So this DPS, the Deltic Preservation Society, needs to continuously raise funds.
Oh, certainly. So we get quite a lot through Loco Hire.
Yeah.
We're out at Heritage Railways. And also, so we were at an event, we've got our sales stand. They get quite a lot of support.
But you can always do with every penny.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, really interested, actually, in how we get these younger people to come to the DPS and volunteer. Is that an easy process, would you say? What would they need to do? Can you help me and help whoever's watching this? Because they might be inspired by your comments, Alex, to think, I want to join this movement.
Yeah. So, firstly, I'll say it's quite easy to get in with volunteering. So, even if you're only coming down, I don't know, once a month, for instance, we've got quite a few volunteers who come from all over the country to help out with
How
us.
far afield do they come?
There's people from, because like, for instance, we're from York. So we come down from York most
We have
weekends.
something in common, Alex. I was born in York.
Yeah.
So anyway, so yeah, you get people coming far and far.
Yeah.
Long distances.
For like instance, we have people all the way from Norfolk coming through
Do
to help
they?
out. Yeah.
Because it's wonderful to come along and actually work, give up their Saturday mornings, be part of something.
It certainly is. You can get quite a lot out of it because, for instance, I've seen it with many other cases with people where volunteering for a group can actually help them in the future, getting like, because it helps with the CV.
Looks good on the job on the job front, doesn't it? Yeah. Does it give you a bit of work ethic as well? Got to get up at a certain time in the morning.
Yeah.
Now, what happens here? Is there a routine? Do you have to be in at a certain time to be a volunteer? I mean, I know you're volunteering your time, but do you have to follow a routine?
Not really. Is any day is different.
Right.
No day is really the same. Any day is different. Every job is different.
Okay.
All of it helps. All of it helps.
Yeah. What's it like when you have a setback? Because there's been a few setbacks, hasn't there, where you've got the engine, you've got it about ready, like the Tullyar startup, and then you had the Elizabeth back on the main line, and it had that sort of quite, what at the time sounded like a catastrophic failure on the main line. So you put all this work in. How do you deal with that when it goes wrong?
You've just got to overcome it.
Yeah.
You've learned from what's gone wrong, investigate what's gone wrong, learn for the future what's gone wrong, so you can try and prevent any of the issues happening in the future.
I think that's a great. What's happening here is if when you've put all that effort in and something does go wrong, with your response there, I think that's a great life skill you're picking up to be able to take you forward in life, because life is full of obstacles.
Yeah.
And in reality, you're learning to overcome them and bounce back. And life is full of that throughout everybody's life. So I just think that's absolutely wonderful. How would who would they reach out to then? How's somebody going to contact us here and join up?
So if you want to become a volunteer, you can follow our website at Deltic Preservation Society.
Okay.
And first job you do is send an email to our volunteer liaison officer, who is Mike Allen Rudd.
Okay, yeah. He's a nice enough chap. I tell you what, I've never met a guy with so much knowledge about these machines.
Yeah.
He tells me he's 72 years of age and he's like a walking encyclopedia to do with everything Deltic preservation and where we are today. It's been so interesting talking to him. So he would be very welcoming, I would have thought.
Oh, certainly, yeah.
And how much time typically would somebody give up? Is it much time as they want to give up, or are you at the beck and call of the DPS?
I think it's as much time as you want to give up.
Right.
To help out.
Okay. And I suppose every bit of time is helpful to this group.
Every bit of time is helpful.
Do you ever feel that you could have done with another set of hands on a Saturday morning or on a day that you're working?
Sometimes if, say, we've got a day, not many volunteers are in, we've got like a big job happening, then certainly, yeah.
I'm the general public today. We all know I run a YouTube channel called HellfireTV for nutcases that love diesel thrash, but I am a Deltic fan. And I know that winds up some of my friends, because not everybody likes Deltics as well, do you? Have you noticed this?
Yeah, quite a lot.
Yeah.
I think it's mainly due to the fact...
2 engines?
I won't say that. I think it's because such as Class 20s, 37s, they're still in mainline traffic today, compared to like Deltics, maybe 52s.
Yeah.
Sometimes with Class 40s as well.
Yeah.
It's mainly because of the fact they got retired early in BR service.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people got to see them in service. And the place you only get to see them really is heritage lines.
Yes.
And occasionally on the main line.
Yes.
I would say seeing the locos on the main line and riding behind them is a completely different experience to Preserve Railway.
Yes. And I think maybe because they're so powerful, when they're on the preserve lines, they get up to power quite quickly.
Yeah.
Whereas a 20 and a 37 can still thrash.
Yeah.
Is that what you're alluding to?
Yeah.
I've thought that. And I've also thought that sometimes it's envy. 55s were 3,000 plus horsepower engines. And they were typically the most powerful diesel production locomotive from 1960s. And there are people, because they were on 2 engines, I've found people moan about that and go, oh, they need 2 engines. Truth is they're magnificent on 1 engine, aren't they?
Certainly, yeah.
Yeah, and I think actually they function slightly better on the preserve lines as 1 engine, because you get more thrash, don't you?
Oh, certainly, yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. Well, Alex, it's been an absolute pleasure. If there's anything you want to say to anybody that's looking in, please do. But I'm so grateful for you spending your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, it's been really good. Thank you.